We have rules about buying expensive stuff without getting it checked out first. For some reason, Rick thinks his fat head is above the rules.
Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back. We post videos of your favorite shows, so if you don't want to miss an upload, consider giving this video a thumbs up, and if you're a fan of Pawn Stars, join the notification squad by subscribing and hitting that bell notification. But also don't forget to comment down below saying I subscribe to enter our monthly shoutouts, and we'll make sure to reply and thank as many of you as we possibly can. Hope you enjoy the video. As the Lives of History channel's hit reality TV series Pawn Stars revolve around estimating, purchasing and selling rare historical items, and considering the amount of years they've been in business, the Harrises and Chumley were bound to cross paths with a criminal or two, even though they didn't know it straight away. Despite the fact that the Harrises are considered to be veterans of the business, some stolen items have occasionally slipped through the cracks. Technically speaking, when a pawn shop unknowingly buys something that has been stolen, they could get charged with purchasing and possessing stolen property, but since it is difficult to prove that the buyer knew it was stolen, the purchasing charges are usually dropped and the problematic items are confiscated and returned to their rightful owners if possible. Aside from this, there's a whole other world of problems when it comes to criminals and the pawn shops, and naturally Pawn Stars are no exception. So in today's video we're going to look at 7 times that criminals tried selling items to the guys at the world famous gold and silver pawn shop with varying success. Number 7. The business instinct definitely runs in the family, but some things you have to learn the hard way, or at least Corey did. He basically grew up in the pawn shop as he was only 9 years old when he began working and polishing knobs. When he started working the night shift all by himself 9 years later, he picked some things up from his dad, but he wasn't really that experienced and simply didn't know what to expect. Apparently the word about a novice working at the shop got out, and Corey ended up buying not 1 but 6 fake Rolex watches in just 1 week. Even though this scam and his rookie mistake cost him $4,000, there's no doubt that he has learned his lesson. Number 6. Pawn shops are highly regulated under Nevada law, which means that every customer that walks into the gold and silver pawn shop must present identification. And every item pawned must be entered into a database that police regularly check, just like any other pawn shop. The Harrison's shop must hold pawned items for 30 to 90 days before disposing of them, giving owners time to redeem them and police time to identify stolen goods. However, the law makes a few exceptions to this holding period requirements, and one of it is for coins which are not part of jewelry, and which a pawn shop can dispose of any time at once. This exception caused the Harrisons some trouble back in 2014 when the police got involved, after they had melted down some gold coins that later turned out to be stolen. It all started when a woman came to the pawn shop with a collection of pretty valuable gold coins, and ended up with what she thought was a pretty good deal that saw her getting a little over $12,000 for them. However, the Harrisons later learned that she had stolen the gold coins from her uncle. But it came even worse for the poor man. Not only had his niece robbed him of his coins, but he also had no chance of getting them back, since the Pawn Stars had decided to melt the coins down in order to make more money from selling the gold than they had initially spent on the coins. And if you think that this must have been the sad news for the uncle, then listen to this. The gold coin collection was actually worth about $50,000, as it contained rare coins like a 1903 Sega Dance $20 gold piece, silver Morgan coins from the 1880s, and contemporary 1-ounce American Buffalo gold pieces. So not only did Nevada native David Walters get robbed and will never see his coin collection again, but his niece didn't even get a good deal, as she only got about a quarter of its worth, before she was caught and served a sentence for theft. Number 5. Some of the biggest scams that the older of the two pawn shop owners has suffered occurred back in the late 1970s and early 80s. When the so-called cubic zirconias, or CZS, first appeared in the markets, these clean-cut synthetic diamonds fooled innumerable pawn shops all across America, as they would appear to be 100% real whenever tested at that time. The old man's shop suffered the loss of around $30,000 due to the fake diamonds, but he has learned his lesson. Nobody knew about them and they tested as diamonds. Everybody in the industry bought a bunch of them, he said. Corey eventually did a DIY video about CZs and how to detect the fake diamonds, in which he said that the zirconias usually appear to be too perfect, as there are very few perfect diamonds out there. If you can find even the slightest hint of a scratch, they're most probably fake. Number 4. Despite making great efforts to abide by state and local laws, the gold and silver pawn shop staff has, unknown to them, occasionally taken in stolen property like every other pawn shop. In season 7 episodes called Shekel and Hyde, Rick bought a 2,000-year-old Tyrian shekel, a coin most historians believe was the mode of currency using the infamous transaction of the 30 pieces of Judas, paid to Judas to betray Christ. A detective later came to the shop and informed them that the coin had been stolen, not by the seller who was featured in the episode, but by a previous owner of the coin. Nevertheless, the Harrisons were allowed to keep it as the original owner had been compensated by his insurance policy. But while they got lucky there, it turned out that Rick had paid way too much for the coin. Despite its rarity, a well-preserved shekel of tire would usually only be worth around $1,200. And because it had been cleaned, this one had lost a lot of value. So most of the $1,600 that Rick had paid for the coin are probably lost forever. Number 3. In the season 6 episode, Say It Ain't So, Rick made another ill-fated gamble without consulting his expert buddies, when a seller came into the shop carrying a book that had supposedly been signed by baseball legend shoeless Joe Jackson. Since Joe Jackson's signature are one of the rarest ones to find throughout the appraisal, it seems that Rick followed his heart rather than in his mind, as he couldn't have been more excited. Because Jackson was illiterate, his signature was one among the most forged sports signatures in the world. Disregarding his own reservations, as well as a questionable certificate of authenticity, Rick eventually shelled out $13,000. It was only after spending all that money that he decided to pay his book expert Rebecca a visit. Rebecca informed him that the signature was most likely fake. So Rick went for a second opinion from an authenticator who backed Rebecca's claim, saying that the signature is not only a fake, but also a ridiculously bad one. Number 2. As you know, the pawn shop has to enter every item they're offered into a database that is regularly reviewed by the police, and whenever something turns out to be stolen, the police will come and get the item from the pawn shop and return it to its rightful owner. This is also what happened when a man dressed in a fancy suit came to the gold and silver pawn shop and offered Rick a pair of diamond earrings of the finest quality one day.
Got a big set of diamond earrings. Asked him all the questions, even had a receipt.
The pawn shop owner naturally made further inquiries about how the seller obtained the earrings, but because the man had all the right answers and could even produce a receipt, they came to an agreement and Rick paid the not-so-small sum of $40,000 for the jewelry. However, only 3 days later, police came to the pawn shop and informed him that the earrings had unfortunately been stolen. The gold and silver pawn shop obviously gave them back to the owner and the thief was quickly arrested, but the Harrisons' money was lost, and according to Rick, this was the biggest bust he had ever had in the pawn shop to this very day. Number 1. Coming up in this pick, we have a case when a thief actually managed to sell a stolen item to Pawn Stars with the help of a clueless middleman, or in this case middlewoman, in the show's episode titled Sub for Sale from the 4th season. A woman named Lynette brought an unidentified personal model of a submarine to the gold and silver pawn shop. Lynette said that she had obtained this sub from an unnamed person who had it sitting in their yard and had asked her to take it away. Straight away, Rick commented that it's hard to imagine that someone would just give her the submarine because the new one cost over $100,000. As they started haggling, Lynette asked for $25,000, so Rick asked her if she realizes that they're in the middle of the desert. When she replied, "Yeah, but there's lakes and stuff." Ultimately, Rick got the submarine for only $3,000, pointing out that it was obviously in rough condition and would need a great deal of maintenance. That would have been the end of the story, but unfortunately for Rick, it turned out later that the submarine was stolen 5 years earlier and that the lawyer of the submarine's original owner saw the episode when it aired on TV. Eventually, Rick had to part ways with the sub as it was returned to its wealthy owner, who reportedly resides in Rancho Mirage in California. A retired truck driver whose sister worked for the submarine's owner was hired to head out to Vegas to retrieve the stolen sub and haul it back to California. The truck driver spoke to Victorville Daily Press and revealed that such thefts are not really uncommon in California, saying that this wasn't the first time he's moved something like this. In the end, the Las Vegas police gave a statement in which they said that Lynette appeared to be unaware of the fact that the submarine had been stolen and that it was unclear if there were any leads in the case. Thank you for checking this video out, and don't forget to smash that like button. And also subscribe for new videos every day. Turn that bell notification on, and comment down below that you subscribed, and we'll make sure to reply and thank as many of you as we possibly can. Once again, thank you for watching and see you next time.